A very good morning to you, and welcome to Core Finance TV. I'm Malcolm Graham Wood, and I've got my latest interviewee here. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Brian Mitchener, who is the Exploration Director of Sound Energy.
Thank you very much, Malky.
Great to see you, and I'm particularly happy to have Brian here, because we're going to talk technical today, as it were, and we are going to run through a lot of the things. It's been fairly quiet at Sound over the last few months, unusually for Sound, and there's been a lot going on. So tell us, you started at Sound a couple of years ago. What did you find, and what's it been like?
It's been incredibly different. I mean, as you know, my background is very much the super major, the national oil company, the mid-cap. So going to AIM was an opportunity to do something completely different with a bunch of high-energy, entrepreneurial people with a real sort of cutting edge on the commercial side, and led by James Parsons, who you know very well.
Yeah. So tell me how you've adapted to the challenge. What have you been building in the last?
So I mean, the role I was hired to fill was to actually build on the initial success of the T6-7 appraisal wells in eastern Morocco, and to take that forward to unlock the bigger province. And I would just like to emphasise here that we're looking at an extension of the original Algeria hydrocarbon province. This is not a new one. It's the same fluviatile Triassic reservoir. It's the same Paleozoic source rocks which are charging those reservoirs, sitting below a very thick, kilometre-thick salt.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same. And it's so how do you actually take that forward is the question. And there were two things that we had to really work on. Was one, the building the exploration expertise in the company, and secondly, building up what the exploration program should be.
Yeah. So you built a team?
We have, we have 5 really seasoned professionals with a lot of experience and a lot of energy, and they are very creative. And so we've got 5 geologists, geophysicists in the head office now.
Yeah.
And so together we've actually been building that exploration program. And I think this is something which it sounds easy, but actually it's not. If you, in a normal life cycle of a basin around the world, you would anticipate that over a 14-year period, that you would go from the sort of the initial access through an exploration, appraisal, development to production. And here we've had 70 years. So this is before you and I were born, right?
Yeah. 70
years of activity, a very sporadic activity. And the data that we've actually got, rather than being very useful, is very variable, and it's almost like going back to square one.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've done.
And with new state-of-the-art kit, presumably.
Absolutely, new state-of-the-art kit. And, you know, we had a lot of debate with people around whether we should just go out and drill, just keep drilling.
Yeah.
But it would have been way too high risk. So, you know, we're in a completely different place.
Yeah. So let's go back to square one and see what you did. You established a database, and what have you delivered? What have you specifically delivered in this process?
Yeah, so first of all, we wanted to understand the extent of the sedimentary basin within which the T6-7 discoveries are actually sitting in. So we did a very large gravity gradiometry survey of 24,000 square kilometres. So that gives us the extent of the basin, and it tells you something about the regional structure.
Yeah.
We've then done a combination of reprocessing of some of the 3D, a large chunk of the 2D, so about 3,000 kilometres of 2D.
Yeah.
And we've supplemented that with a new 2D program as well. And what that's allowing us to do is actually to map the top and the base of the salt seal, the top and the base of the reservoir, and actually start to understand the deeper Paleozoic potential.
So is 2D as good as 3D for that particular? Like, or would you rather have it? Is it like looking at black and white TV? Or?
Right. I think there's a tendency onshore to actually explore with 2D because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And then once you actually focus in on the horizon where you actually have the hydrocarbons, you would then do the 3D as it's more expensive. Yeah. So that's been a big thing. And we definitely significantly improved the quality of the data and being able to really see the Triassic reservoirs. the other things that we've done is we've actually gone back and looked at and sampled all of the oils and the condensates to try and type them back to the original source rock. And what we've found is that it's most like a carbonate-rich marine mudstone, and that would appear to be the Devonian as being most characteristic of that. We have also the big play risk in the area would be, has the source rocks within the Paleozoic actually been buried too much and they're actually burnt out, and what you only see today is only like a remnant gas, series of gas pools. So if you're in Algeria, there's an area called the Tindouf Basin where you've actually got very small gas pools. The structures are not full to spill, as opposed to the area around Hassi R'Mel and Ghadames where everything is full. So this is a pretty fundamental thing to do.
So would you say that the amount of work and the team that you've got together and everything else, quite a big set of work for a small company?
Yeah, very much so. We had an external advisor came into the office the other day and actually was very taken aback actually by the amount of effort, time and money actually spent on acquiring all this data and reviewing everything.
So you've got all the data, you've got the team working flat to the boards. How do you bring the information together enough to be able to update your basin volumetrics and
well, I guess. So I should say that everything I've just talked about is very much just bread and butter. Every good explorer would do this. And I think it's now, how do you actually represent it the best to allow people to really understand what the key risks are in the basin? So we've actually got a four-dimensional model which we've actually developed with a bunch of specialists.
Right.
Within which, so you've used the gradiometry to give us the extent of the basin. We have all of the mapping of the seismic to give us the horizons that we put into the model. We then place into that the source rocks, and we can vary the thickness and the richness over the area. We put in the seals and the reservoirs. And then in time, we fill that basin and we look at the impact on the burial and the thermal history in the basin. That gives you the time of peak generation of oil and gas. So in our case, you're actually seeing two peaks, one just prior to the reservoir deposition, so this Hasidian nonconformity. But what we're really interested in is post-Hasidian, post the reservoir, post the seal. And what we have come up with is a range of something between 7, 20 and 34 TCF, a gas equivalent. And
I mean, that's a game changer.
It's a game changer. Absolutely, it's a game changer, and it's very exciting. But it's not the only thing you have to look at, because the sense check is, so from all of the prospect inventory that we have, how do those numbers actually look? And so we got about 21 TCF unrisked within the Tagi. So the remainder of that potential, or the upside potential, will come from the Paleozoic. If you compare with the analog basins in Algeria, what we're proposing here, the 20 TCF most likely, for example, is only a quarter of the potential that you're actually seeing in the Algerian basins. So we're trying to keep our feet on the floor, trying to be fairly pessimistic at the moment about what the potential is. But it is very exciting.
Under promise, over deliver.
Exactly. Yes.
And of course, you've got this annual, and then that leading on to the whole presence of oil, which we hadn't really thought of when we first started.
No, absolutely. I mean, this has been we saw hints of this a while ago, but I think now with the model actually coming to fruition, so the southeastern Tendrara part is very gas prone. The source has been very deeply. But over the Anwal, the northwestern portion of our license, you can see from the gravity data that the basement is quite shallow, that the Paleozoic source rocks, if they are present, would actually be in the oil window present day. And so that gives us the potential for a significant amount of oil around the edge of the Anwal license, as well as gas. So that then becomes the target of the third well.
Right, so we'll come on to that in a minute. I mean, you could still say, is it good or bad, whether you're going to have gas or oil, but you're going to be going for the different targets,
That's correct, yes. I mean, something I would like to actually add to this whole story is, because, as you gather more data, you start asking more questions.
Yeah.
When we're looking petrographically at all of the reservoirs over the area, you actually see this early oil charges. You see oil samples in the sandstones, and so it's that if that oil hasn't escaped, it's somewhere still beneath the salt.
Yeah.
And I think the other nice thing is that spending a lot of time processing the seismic has allowed us to see that possibility of seepage of gas or hydrocarbons above some of the structures, which was actually quite a surprise to me through thick salt.
Yeah.
But from talking to other people, they said, no, this does happen. And you can see evidence of hydrocarbons on the seismic truncating up against faults high up above the prospects. Yeah. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I suppose people would ask.
Yeah.
And I think when the basin is actually delivering a lot of hydrocarbons present day, you would anticipate that the sections should light up. You should see something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing. And we're also checking at the surface, over the desert surface.
Yep.
So we get a lot of satellite imagery.
Right.
And you can actually detect soil, chemical changes of the soils where you're getting seepage.
Yeah.
And we can actually go out and sample those. And that's what we're going to do, try to be predictive about.
So I want to get on to the potential of the basin, but more importantly, the exploration program. It's probably completely different from when you first started looking at it in this way. So why don't you run us through what you think it's going to look like now? And
sure. Okay. I mean, I guess there are two ways of actually attacking this exploration program. One, you can actually wait for all the data to come in.
Yeah.
And
you wait forever.
And you wait forever. So that would be, we wouldn't be doing anything until 2020. But it doesn't actually take your knowledge forward fast enough. And so what we chose to do was to try and drill as soon as we could on the back of the data. So because we had existing seismic data, we had an idea of what the play types were that we were trying to actually penetrate, trying to target. We targeted those very quickly. So typical structural plays within the Tagi or stratigraphic plays. So the two wells we talked about a lot, the A structure and Lakbir. And then follow that now with a test of the oil play. I'd like to say that we really hoped that this was going to be a lot sooner, but you need a fair wind behind you.
Yeah.
It is far from easy to acquire data really effectively and everything going to plan and all of the processing to go to plan. But I think we're there now, and this is exciting.
So let's do them number by number. So we've got T9, the Taji.
So T9, we're looking at around most likely about 624, I think is the number of BCF. And Lakbir is probably about 2.5 TCF. And we haven't completed the numbers yet for the T11 location. But that is going to be your planned oil play. And I know there's no timing on that, but we're talking a sort of 18-month period for... But no. I think we're acquiring the seismic over the T11 area now. Yeah. So we will be ready to drill T11 back to back with the T9-10 program.
So having put all that together, I'd love to know what you think of the sort of Tendrara Basin. I mean, we've talked about it, and you talked about all the technicals and everything else. But how does it look in sort of global comparison terms? And I mean, you said it's been drilled a lot for a long period of time, but not aggressively.
It's funny. I remember answering this question on my very first day in Sounds on a telephone call with the investors. But we're in a basin which has got a very thick, world-class seal. You've got a world-class source rock, and you have a sort of a tight reservoir, but it's delivering commercial quantities of gas, so the T6-7 evidence to that. Yeah, it's onshore, so it's actually fairly cheap to explore. Yeah, there is a lot of running room. Yeah, and you have a fantastic fiscal terms, and you have access to both the domestic and the European market. Yeah, I mean, there's existing infrastructure. Well, really, what is there not to like about this? Yeah, and other companies have been trying to find sort of basins like this, and and there are other companies involved in Morocco as well already. I think you can see Repsol, Shell next door. Yeah, watching what we're doing. I'm sure other people are actually watching what is going on. when I was in BG, this is the sort of person we were looking for.
Yeah.
Something which had a really good, effective seal.
Yeah. And as you say, I mean, a good fiscal model, good demand, and a pipeline in due course.
Yeah, exactly.
In the region, which is going to be, very attractive. The retail shareholders who'll be watching this today will be wanting to hear what you think the message is going to be. As I said, we aren't going to be able to tell them the exact timings of the wells, but we've got a long way to helping unlock in which order and what we're looking for. What would be your message for the retail shareholders, given
I'd like them to remember almost everything that we've always said, that this is a world-class basin. These are excellent well opportunities. But they have to always remember that these are exploration wells. There is a large element of risk. But we have an excellent team who've done the absolute best they can to deliver high-quality targets.
Yeah.
And this gives them the opportunity for a high return.
Yeah. And the chance of success, you've said one of them might be 30%, but the others may be different. But you are giving the shareholders a chance to participate in what could be, development of a fantastic basin here.
I think so. I mean, the risking, having better than 30% chance of success is the best we can do, exploration-wise.
Yeah, I can understand. And your message for the rest of the sector?
I'd like to feel that the rest of the sector actually look at us and actually think that we're more than just a retail-focused company.
Yeah. That
we are a serious oil and gas company.
Yeah.
That you look at the quality of the professionals actually working there, and the amount of time and effort and money that's been put into properly evaluating the risks and volumes in this area. I've worked in the industry for over 36 years now.
Yeah.
And really, I think this is as good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, as my last question, you've come in from big companies. You said right at the beginning of this interview that, this was very small compared to anything that you'd done with before. And have you enjoyed the work you've been doing in the last couple of years?
The journey
most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely, most of the time. Of course it is, yeah. It is quite different, and the nice thing is you actually can roll your sleeves up and actually sit down at the workstation and talk about the technical stuff.
And you pick your own team? And
pick my own team, and they're excellent, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you very much for joining us. Today I've been joined on Core Finance by Brian Mitchener, who's the Exploration Director of Sound Energy. Thank you very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye now.